Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will be looking at Ayub, Lucy, Brandon, Brad, and Rocky's trip to Masca together on the day Jay went missing. Because it's clear that Ayub was annoyed at Brad, and from what I have seen, Ayub was even annoyed and showed no respect when he spoke about Jay sometimes. So why is this? So we have heard two versions of this story. One we heard months ago before this information was released by Mark, and Haley Comet was the one who talked about this situation happening. Then we hear some of the story from Ayub and Mark. So we are going to see the differences and see if this information that Mark got was from the phone call Haley was talking about and what really happened when they were all in the car together. So let's start off with what Ayub had to say.
On the day of Jay's disappearance in the evening, Lucy wanted to go looking for him. Contacting via social media, Qasim said he would pick her and Brandon up and take them to the area to look for him. Qasim described how that trip went.
He kept saying to me shit like...
So the first thing I want to point out is that Mark says Lucy spoke with Ayub on social media and arranged for her and Brandon to be picked up so they can look for Jay. There are a couple of things that are wrong with this. First of all, how did Lucy manage to contact them on the day Jay went missing? But then she claims to not know who they are when Mark asks Lucy for their names. That contradicts her first statement completely and shows that Brandon and Lucy both knew who Ayub was. Secondly, Ayub didn't come to pick up just Lucy, and Brandon did he. He came to pick up Brad as well. But Mark doesn't mention Brad at all throughout this podcast, which makes me think that Brad or Rachel got in contact and asked him not to include Brad, which means that we are missing so much information, and this podcast only covered two of the friends' stories, and the person who hasn't been mentioned was actually the main person involved in this situation that we are going to talk about, which I find very strange. Also, this does place Brandon and Lucy, along with Rocky and Ayub, in the Masca Mountains on the day Jay went missing, and they were there until the early morning the day after, so they had plenty of time together.
I need to get out to do a piss. I need to get out to do a piss, and I could say, mate, you're fucking out. Hold it in, like, do you know what I mean? And then, but I never knew he was in such a position that because of the cat, he couldn't hold his piss in. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then when he got out to do the piss, he couldn't piss. Like, my mate was saying, bro, he's not pissing. Stop the car like in some tunnel because he was like, oh, stop the car. And then guess what? Because he couldn't piss. I'm getting now, mate, mad at my mate that I know these kids through. Like, one kid called Brandon. So I'm like, Brandon, mate, what the fuck's your pal doing? Like, do you know what I mean? Nah, yeah. And then I'm telling Brandon, oh, sort your fucking mate out and that, yeah? And then he's like, oi, Brad, mate, get back in the car. And then he's like, no, mate, just you lot go. And then Lucy's like, Brad, we're not leaving you in now, bro. Just let's go, Brad, let's go.
What Qasim said next was really significant, and I believe provides real context to a very number of important aspects of this case.
Oh, mate, they're like, lad. Fuck it, they're like, that's like 2 bottles of Henny, lad. And then, like, they were just doing my head in. And then, in the end, I was like to Brandon, look, Brandon, one of your mates yesterday walked away because he's fucked off with the cat. And he went missing. Tell this fucking idiot, get back in the car. We're in a fucking tunnel. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know them big tunnels that go under the mountains and that.
So let's just rehear that again.
Look, Brandon, one of your mates yesterday walked away because he's fucked off with the cat and he went missing.
I believe this is really significant new information. When When Qasim said Ket, he was referring.
So one reason why I don't know if Mark actually spoke to Ayub about this situation is because in the other phone calls, you heard Mark actually speaking to the witnesses. But at the end, you don't hear Mark actually speak to Ayub about this situation or question him about Jay stealing something off him. So that's one reason why I believe this could be a recorded message that Mark has been given. And if he has been given the same information that Haley had, then we know there is a lot more to that phone call and he hasn't showed us. But back to the story of them all going to search for Jay. So we don't have the full story, we just have clips of it, which I don't understand. But anyway, Ayub says that Brad needed to get out the car because he needed a piss. So Ayub just stops in the middle of a tunnel. Brad gets out, couldn't piss because he was under the influence of illegal substances. Then Brad refuses to get back in the car. So they all just leave Brad and drive off. We will get to the last part in a minute. But Ayub says that they are in a tunnel and he tells Brandon to sort his mate out. So why would Brad get out inside a tunnel to piss instead of finding a bush once they got out of the tunnel or before entering if he needed a piss that badly? Instead, Ayub is saying that he has stopped the car and Brad has jumped out while they are in the middle of a tunnel. We do have to take this story with a pinch of salt. But if this did happen, firstly, I believe Brad got out the car because he wanted to leave and could have possibly been scared or had a weird feeling because he didn't return to the car. Instead, he ran home apparently, not walked, he ran. So he obviously wanted to get away from them all very quickly. But why would Brad do that? Because he spoke to Jay on the phone apparently, so he can clarify that Jay was alone and was lost. So why would Brad feel scared? Unless he thinks that Ayub has done something, which means that the phone call he had with Jay wasn't as straightforward as he made it sound. Ayub was obviously annoyed with Brad at this point, and he made it known. Also, Ayub went on to say that they thought Brad was missing as well as Jay at one point, and that doesn't all happen for no reason. There is something behind what happened, and that's just my opinion. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, because this podcast has brought up a lot of questions. Before we move on to Haley's story, in the end part of this video, Mark says that Jay stole Ayub's drugs and walked off with them, which could explain why he didn't want to go back to the Airbnb. Now, there has been a lot of debating about what was actually said by Ayub. I have listened to the clip quite a few times, and I hear Ayub say he effed off with the Ket. Now, he doesn't say whose it was or who he was talking about at all, and I agree with that. But I'm just telling you guys what I can personally hear. Now, I do believe Mark needs to provide this full recording because this isn't the full clip, and you can easily tell that bits are missing. So if Mark wants to back up what he has said, then he needs to provide the full clip, which he says he has done, but I believe there is more. So now we are going to look at what Haley said months ago before any of this was confirmed. Now, obviously, we have seen that Haley hasn't been the most truthful, but she had this information before any one of us. And even if you don't like her, it's true. Someone told her about this. And if what she says happened actually happened, then we have a recording of Ayub that is an hour and a half long, and it might be where Mark got this short clip from.
Ayub had an hour and 35-minute phone conversation with somebody that he had met online, and that was recorded, and I was played the whole conversation. I can't put out that recording, although I've re-listened to it a minute ago to get my information again. I can't put that out because it would put a male in a lot of danger, so I can't do that. I'm just going to go through everything I want to say because I'm nervous and I want to get it all out. And anyone who's missed anything, the Observer UK is in here, and she will have it on her YouTube channel either late tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, because I'm not going to repeat myself, because otherwise everything falls apart. So I have actually spoke to this male and described the night that Jay had gone missing. And he spoke about how they were all in a car. Lucy, Brad, Jay, and Brandon. I.e. there wasn't room in that car for Rocky as well, which is why Rocky has always been asleep the whole time, because I don't think he was in that car. At one point while they were driving back through the tunnel, Brad, who got an eerie feeling, decided to get out of the car and asked to go toilet in the tunnel. He could not go toilet in the tunnel because he had taken so much ketamine. So Lucy is shouting, and this is Ayub's word, Lucy's shouting him to get back in the car. Brandon's telling him we're going to drive off without him. He's not getting back in the car. And he said, so we've left him. Okay? Then I hear from someone who is Brad's friend, who says the exact same story, but he tells me that Brad had a funny feeling that something was going to happen that night, so refused to get back in the car. He pretended he couldn't pee, and then he ran back to Los Cristianos. So there's Ayub saying, yeah, no, that did happen. Brad did get out of the car. Like, he was just couldn't wait, and we weren't waiting. And I thought, why wouldn't you wait for him? Why wouldn't you wait for him? If he was just struggling to pee, unless you were on your way to do something, or you'd already started doing something to Jay in the car, why do you need to race off? And Brad's just like, nah, I felt everything was weird in that car. I ain't getting back in it. So we then hear that Jay goes up to the Masca Mountain. That's always struck me as odd, right? Because I had come to Tenerife very quickly with apparently Rocky. What I have never mentioned is it wasn't just Rocky. There was 3 of them that arrived at the airport that day. It was Rocky, it was Ayub, and it was LK, also known as Stabber. It's his nickname. And they were all in the car at the airport. So where did that guy go? Unless 2 of them were up at the Airbnb waiting, and Ayub went to pick up his friends, Lucy, Brandon. So everything I'm telling you, the family do know. Yes. So then we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened once we got to the Airbnb. I will tell you about what happened the next day though. So we have this that come on. I've always spoke about this because I've always believed this is absolutely vital information. This that was posted on Facebook that shows on the morning the car that Jay was in arrived between 6 and 6 a.m. He arrived back at the Airbnb at Masca, and on 7 o'clock, an hour after Jay got there with his friends, a second vehicle arrives. It parks outside for half an hour before leaving. Okay? I believe Jay was in that car that left. I have no evidence of this, and we know that when we started talking about this second car, Ayub then goes back to the press and says, nah, a man and woman knocked on my door.
So this is where we need to actually start talking facts, because this information was put out by Haley on the 15th of November, 2024, which was ages ago, and she's saying that she has a recording of Ayub that is an hour and 35 minutes long, and that's how she found out this information, along with speaking to Brad's friends, apparently. Now, the problem with this is that Haley has said that it's a very long recording, and she has also stated that Jay was in the car that day, and that this was the night Jay went missing, as in this journey took place before it was known that Jay went missing, and he was actually in the car along with everyone else. I can say for a fact that Haley knows whether Ayub said Jay was in the car with them all, and she hasn't made a mistake. This is a recording that is over an hour long, and it must have a lot of details in it, which means that throughout the story, Jay would have been mentioned as well as the others, which also means that Haley knows if Ayub said Jay was in the car at that point, so why hasn't this been brought up? And is this the recording that Mark released clips from? Because I don't believe Mark spoke to Ayub in that end bit of the podcast. I believe it's the audio that Haley is talking about, which is why Mark didn't get to question Ayub about his theory. But what I'm not sure of is what Haley is saying about Jay being in the car with them at this point. Because if that's the case, and Ayub actually said Jay was in the car at that point, then the whole story changes. Mark clearly didn't have the full audio recording and only got sent clips because he missed out the biggest part of the story. Or if he knows Jay was with them at that point, then he's kept that information from us all. I'm not sure if Haley is right, to be honest, but who am I to say anything? I don't have the recording, so I don't know if she's made it up or if she's telling the truth. And, to be fair, she did have the information before anyone. And she says that she spoke to Brad's friends who also confirmed this story and said Brad had a bad feeling that something was going to happen that night. But what we really need to know is how to get this recording. Can Mark release the full audio? Or does he not have the full audio to release? That's the interesting part. And if Haley can confirm any of this information again, after we have now heard Ayub say this situation happened himself. Because if Jay was in that car during this journey to Masca, and Ayub is on record saying it, then it places them all together when Jay went missing and proves they're all lying. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will update you as we find out more.